Hi, welcome to the third edition of our podcast interaction. Joined this evening by Dan from the Wednesday week. Dan, thank you very much indeed for joining us on Talk and Talk and talking about the upcoming game.
Yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. I'm still getting used to all this. It's all a bit showbiz this season, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant. We get used to all these different things via the talk shows, and the interaction that we'll get with the fans afterwards will be great as well. Yeah, we've got a massive upcoming game. I think it's fair to say for both clubs.
Yeah.
Birmingham sitting 4 points above the relegation zone at the moment. Obviously, Wednesday, I think, second from bottom as we speak, but a big game for both of us to hopefully get either club away from that space and get us away from the relegation spots. So Friday upcoming. But before we go on to the game and a bit of the back history, tell us a bit about your podcast and who you reach out to.
Our one, wow. Did you know what? This podcast started 14 seasons ago. We're in our 14th season now. Where we were in the early days of the Opal Fruit days and the Snickers days of podcasting. You know what I mean? Those of a certain age will get that reference. But yeah, we've been doing this a number of years, and then since technology's moved on, we've been able to do it better. We've brought in the visual medium and things like that, and the interaction with the fans is always my favorite. And since then, there's been a number of. There was one point, I think there was something like 14 Sheffield Wednesday podcasts out there, all trying to do the same thing. There's us, there's Wednesday Till I Die, there's New York Talk. No, New York Talk, that's the Rotherham one. There's New York Owls. There's a lot out there, and any form of Sheffield Wednesday fans talking to each other has been, it's been great. But there's also another side of it. For example, there's a group, a fan group just started out called, I said they've been going about 4 or 5 months now, called the 1867 group, which is leading protests against our chairman. Some people are in that camp, some aren't. I've got splinters on my backside already. I haven't really picked a side yet, and we're going to get those guys on the show next week to talk about that.
And I guess, I mean, it's very, very similar in terms of Talk and Talk. We've been going 13 seasons now, so branching out and similar to yourselves, what started off as just a recording of two chaps talking rubbish about Birmingham and having one person listening. Now leads us open to the way that we are and doing well in all the podcast routes and obviously live on Facebook and YouTube each Monday. So it's great fun. And I gotta say, love it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were actually taken aback by just how ugly we were when we put ourselves out there. But it's nice. I've been a turkey. I've had some teeth done. I'm all right
now. So we've got, as I mentioned, this massive upcoming game for both clubs, really.
Yeah.
Friday evening, never good, but it's Sky TV for us again. A good following from Birmingham. We sold our initial allocation. I think we've just had another just shy of 1,500 tickets given to us as well. So, there'll be a good, I should imagine, 3,000 to 3,500 up there back in Birmingham on the night. And as always, a huge following from Wednesday. But we've got quite a mixed history, really, across the two clubs.
Yeah.
If I look back over our past 5 games, obviously the last one, the 2-1 win for Birmingham at St Andrews, was close in the end. Wednesday took the lead, and then Birmingham got the goal back just before half-time and then took the lead in the second half. But over those past 5 games, Birmingham have had 2 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss to Wednesday. But we have our nemesis of our ex. Well, I'm going to say B6 because I can't say the name of the club the other side of the city. But obviously, he plays for you in midfield, and he always does well against us. And I'm not even going to say his name, because everybody will know who I mean. But we've got like a really good history in terms of games. They're always good. They're always competitive. Looking forward to Friday. But we've also had our overlaps in terms of managerial situations. I think it's very close in terms of sacking and recruiting. Sacking and recruiting has been the same for Wednesday as for Birmingham over the past few seasons. Strange decision for me, for you to let Moore go at the start of the season, which I think it did, fair to say, alienate a few of your fans, especially after the way he got you promoted. And I will never forget watching those playoff games at the end of last season and thinking, there's no way you're coming back. But that game at Hillsborough that night, two things. The crowd were phenomenal. And also the way you came back and turned that around was just second to none. So, huge kudos to them from that front. But we've got overlaps with players, with managerial side of things as well. Trevor Francis, obviously our massive Blues family. He was Mr. Blue Sky. A sad loss to both clubs. Obviously, as both manager and player for both clubs. We've also seen Danny Sonner, Graham Hyde, swapping allegiances. Oh, look at that face when I mentioned Graham Hyde there.
Graham Hyde. He looks like Gareth Keenan from The Office, but you know what I mean. I absolutely loved him. He was a bit of an unsung hero, and we kept signing players better than him, so he was always like a bit of a bench warmer for us. But when he came on, he always did a job. And let's be honest, like he played for us. He played for us during our halcyon days. Like he played for us during the times when people really remembered Sheffield Wednesday. And but it was more the mention of Danny Sonner that gave me the twitch.
Well, Danny was actually on our show
nice.
the other week, and he's such a nice guy. And I've also had the pleasure of actually playing a charity game where Hyde was playing. And the one thing I can say is he may have been out of the game for a couple of years when we played, but he still tore us to shreds.
They kick the ball in a different way, don't they? It's the way they move the body, and you're like, and like I play a couple of charity games with some of the ex-Wednesday pros, and you're thinking you were just over there, and you're in your late 40s, early 50s, and you're there now, and all of a sudden. I was 10 years younger than some of these people on this pitch, and they're making me look like a knobhead. I'm like, what? It's
unreal. Well, we've also had a few other players that have overlapped just recently. Harley Dean, for example. And he was superb. He had a few people that disliked him at Birmingham, but I've got to say, I think overall he did a fantastic job for us. And in fact, Harley's joining us again on the show in a couple of weeks' time to go through his time. He is indeed.
If there's an opportunity I could chew on that just for 5 minutes, that'd be great. I tell you what, listen, Harley Dean, I really liked. When we signed him for that short period we did, I really liked. And he came in with this impeccable injury record. Like he didn't get injured because he was such an absolute Lego brick of a human being. And then he got this mega injury. We never saw him again. And his injury actually coincided with our drop in form. We were on this mega run in League One. We were absolutely knocking teams left, right, and centre. And then Dean got injured. And it was kind of like, he was what we were missing. We just needed him. He was. I was actually gutted to see him go because he's absolutely. I played centre back myself, so I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to it. And he was right up there for me because he was just a big shit kicker. I just really enjoyed him, and he didn't take any, and he just led, and nothing went past. I missed Harley Dean. I was gutted.
He's obviously still playing his trade down in Reading, and I don't think he's getting as many games as he would like. But yeah, sad loss when he moved on from Birmingham. I honestly thought they might offer him a shorter deal, but no, he moved on. But he was a workhorse for us. He always, like you say, he wasn't afraid to put his foot in. And to be honest, a few seasons ago, his goals and the way that he was when he came back into our side, especially when Karanka had left the club, he arguably, kept us in the league. So we have a lot to thank Harley Dean for. I'll have to get him in touch with you so that you can try and get him on and have a chat with him.
I would absolutely snap your hand off. I really would. I'd just sit there making love our eyes the entire time, just staring away like. And then who else have we got? Jacques Magome. Yeah,
indeed.
I tell you what, you were talking earlier about some of the previous games we've had, and you're right, there have been some proper ding dongs, but I feel like you guys have had like the lion's share over the last few years. But I remember one, I want to say it was around 2010, 2011. You had that Belgian kit, Belgian flag away kit, or looked like that flag behind me actually, like that type of thing, and I think you were having a terrible season. I think we won something like 3-0 at Hillsborough, something like that. And I thought, what's happened to this team? These were one of the big boys, right? I mean, go back to when the Snake Steve Bruce was in charge. You were doing all right, and and all the rest of it. And I thought, and it's weird to see some clubs, because I think there's like a group of us. There's like a group of clubs that are very similar, and not the way that they're run in the recent fortunes that they've had in terms of flirting with the Premier League and then coming down and spending a lion's share of time in a championship, for example, like Middlesbrough. Not so much the last couple of years, but Nottingham Forest, Birmingham City. You know what I mean? And like Coventry and Southampton, you could even put into that bracket. And I kind of like those clubs, because to me they're proper football clubs. Like, you know, you're on holiday and you meet somebody and they say, "Oh, what team do you support?" And you say Sheffield Wednesday. They kind of look at you as if to say, "Oh, so you're a proper football fan then?" And I assume
I agree.
saying you're a Birmingham City fan kind of elicits the same response, right?
Indeed, and this is the one thing. I mean, we're old school clubs. Everybody looks at it. The stadiums. I mean, there's all the talk of Birmingham potentially moving to a new stadium and stuff. And if that happens, it happens. But it'll be sad to leave St Andrews, because it's still one of those areas that you think to yourself, do you know what? When this place is rocking, you know about it, and
yeah,
it is the same
you get an away
Hillsborough.
end as well. You get an away
Indeed,
end.
yeah.
I like that. I like it. Like Wolves stuck us down the side, and I found that dead weird. Always
Behind
found
the
it
goal,
weird.
you can't beat it. And I've been to Hillsborough myself, and it's old school football. It's like you get to the ground, you're thinking, hey, what's this going to be like? And it's when you get
Yeah.
inside that it really hits you. And I think that is a continuation of the two clubs. It is different, like you say. You compare us to the Liverpools, the Arsenals, and it's like no,
No.
they're big clubs, but they're not. They're not like us. They're not got that passion and that drive. Working men's club. That's what we are.
Yeah, they're a little bit. Those big clubs now tend to be a little bit sterile, as it were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. Now, would I take a load of tourists coming up and paying to come into the Sheffield Wednesday? Absolutely, I'll take the money all day. I'm not gonna moan about them. We've got spare seats; they can have them. And remember that video of that Scouse geezer going, "You've got these Japanese tourists coming in. What are you laughing for?" You know that geezer.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Well, sorry about your rich club that attracts the tourists.
Exactly.
Get in the bin. What's the matter with you? I'll take the money. It might pay for a new striker."
This is this. I think this is the difference for all of us when we look at both Birmingham and Wednesday over the past few seasons. It's fair to say the owners of our clubs have let us down. We have honestly fell on our feet. We've just got these guys now that not only want to take the club forwards, but they've got a vision for the whole of the city. They are driving Birmingham as a city, not just a football club. And I really hope that the same thing happens with you guys, and that the different things can be sorted out, because we all want to see clubs like ourselves back in the Premier League. I'm probably the same as yourself. I'm fed up of seeing loads of northern clubs and loads of London clubs, nothing in the middle, apart from our friends the other side of the city. But there's nothing else, and it needs to be that mixture. We all need to be back where we were.
Do you know what? This is going to sound mental. I was talking to another Birmingham City podcast a little bit earlier, and he was saying, like, he's not one of those venomous Midland supporters club that wants everybody else to fail and their team to do better. They want to see more representation of the West Midlands in the higher leagues. And I kind of and do you know what? I thought the same, because I feel like Sheffield. Look at the way that Sheffield United are performing in the Premier League, and look at the way Sheffield Wednesday performing in the Championship. It's really sad, and it's just like it just feels like a real indictment of the area, where like how is two clubs in the same city being really undersold like this? And then you look around your area, and Wolves seem to have had that. They had a bit of a resurgence, and there's a weird thing with Wolves as well. So, for example, I remember going to an away game there around 2016, and we were at the side going, "We're fucking good, you're fucking shit," and they were rubbish.
Yeah.
They were rubbish. And then they got Nuno, and then must have got a cash injection or something. And all of a sudden now they're playing Premier League football, and I'm like, how did that happen? They were rubbish. And then when you look at our respective chairmen, and you're thinking, can we do what you did there? Can we do that? That'd be mint if you could.
I mean, the thing with the Wolves was we all said it at the time. They spent big in the Championship. They wanted to win. They wanted that title. They wanted to get themselves promoted.
Yeah.
They succeeded. Birmingham tried it. We failed. We failed miserably.
Do you know
and
what?
We put
So
ourselves
did we.
into trouble.
So did we. You know, we went for it. We signed a load of players, 2016, 2017, got the playoffs, got the final, dropped our ass against Hull City. And, you know, the following year, we got into the playoffs again. And Huddersfield, it was that year that Huddersfield got promoted and without scoring a goal themselves. And in one moment, when Fernando Forestieri missed that penalty against Huddersfield in that shootout, in that semi-final, our club died. We didn't go up. We couldn't afford anything. We've now got a chairman who's trying to overvalue the stadium to try and make some quick cash instead of starting again and doing it properly. He wanted to try and keep on top of that. And you can't do it 3 times of asking. The players are tired. Everybody's exhausted. You just can't do it. You need to take stock and start again. And yeah, you're right. Sheffield Wednesday and Birmingham City are 2 clubs that paid to go for it. And when it doesn't pay off, you're struggling for a number of years.
And obviously we've got a big, like I mentioned, a big game on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Going into it, I mean, I can honestly say I'm hoping, you know, that we can get a result and pull ourselves away from where we are. Obviously, because we've been on a half decent run since Mowbray came in, and we were unlucky at West Brom the weekend. Well, the most boring game I can honestly say this season that I have seen, and sat through. I think to lose it 1-0 and to what was a good goal. It was a great finish. I'll never take it away from him. But to lose to that was disappointing, and I'm hoping we can bounce back coming into Friday. But what are your thoughts going into the game? I mean, how do you think it'll go? And you know, obviously you want Wednesday to win, but how do you feel that things are going at this present moment? Do you think you can get out of the situation that you're in?
We're very inconsistent. You know, some days we're absolutely abject. I mean, we lost 4-0 to relegation rivals Huddersfield, which nobody saw coming. You know, I'd have taken a dire 0-0 away at a rival such as that. With yourselves in terms of league position, I know you kind of want to get away from it. And Tony Mowbray is a hell of an appointment, by the way. You know what I mean? There'd have probably been fans on your social medias going, well, it's not a showbiz appointment. Everybody tends to think they want those young, foreign, fancy German managers coming in, like what we've got. But, you know, they want a young, fancy foreign manager coming in. But, you know, Tony Mowbray is a very steady pair of hands. And given the free fall that you guys went into under Rooney, I feel like it needed to stop. I'm surprised that, you know, I actually, you know, I even put a bet on that. I thought John Eustace might come back. But, you know, it's football. You never say never, do you, right? And it seemed like a good outside bet. But Mowbray's a great one, and he'll keep it tight. And we've got a couple of... I tell you, we had a new manager at the start of the season in Chisco Muno, and it just didn't gel. It didn't hit. And the quality of signings that we made were very average. And we weren't any better as a squad from League One. We were virtually just the same sort of level. If you were like 2 out of 5 stars on Football Manager, we went up. We made all these signings and was probably 1.5. You know what I mean? It just didn't seem to. It just didn't hit. So, you know, we lost virtually every game under him for the first 14 games. And Danny Rule's come in, and there's a definite vibe there, and there's a bounce, and we've got some exciting players in Masaba and Gassama, and then Ugbo that we just signed into the transfer window. And then you've got he who must not be named in the middle of the park, who's still by far and away our best player, right? So, you know, the players are there, but we seem to have a lot of attacking frailties. The person at the top of the pyramid at the front of the, you know, at the striker. And in defence, we haven't really, ironically, replaced Harley Dean, if I'm honest, since he got that injury. So, you know, the game on Friday is difficult because you have to make your home games count. And you know, we can go away. If we'd have lost 1-0, we'll lose 4-0 to Huddersfield. It's an away game. We need to concentrate on making, and I'm going to use a really old term, Hillsborough fortress. We really want to make sure that your home games are the ones that you win, and they're where you get the points. We're rapidly running out of games for the rest of the season, and we can never seem to break down that 8-point deficit that we keep. It always just seems to be there. But in terms of your league position under Tony Mowbray, yeah, it probably looks a bit precarious, but I don't feel like let's say we got a freak 1-0 win. I don't feel like your season would be over because there are a raft of teams shitter than Birmingham in that league. If that makes sense.
It does. And you know, we say exactly the same thing. You know, Fortress St Andrews. We want it to be loud. We want it to be proud. And the owners are saying the same thing. You know, we've got Sunderland coming up, and they've put an offer on to try and fill St Andrews. You know, they want to hear it. They've said we've heard it's great when it's full, and they prove it. And we're hoping that we can do that. And I know that's exactly the same at Sheffield. I can always not say when I came up, I know Birmingham were lucky to get the win when I was up there, but there was still that backing of the Wednesday fans, which I think is what both clubs have. Even when you're in turmoil, you've still got the hardcore fans backing you to the hilt. Come Friday, like I say, we've got this following probably just shy of 3,500 by the time it's finished. They'll be loud. They will back them, and they will back that team no matter what. We've seen it this season. You mentioned Rooney, right? At Leeds, they still backed the team. They didn't back him, but they backed the team. And that's the difference, I think, across both clubs. I'm looking at Friday and I'm thinking to myself, I really hope we can come up there and take a win. I think you're in the same situation as us in terms of strikers. We've got a half-decent set up in defence. We've got a good midfield. We've got nobody to put a ball away. So if we'd have taken chances in our other games, we could have spanked some people 5-6-0. I look at Leicester the other weekend. We had 14 chances on goal in the first half of an FA Cup game and couldn't put one away. So, you know, I want to see that type of performance up at Hillsborough, obviously. So it's going to be tight. I think, you know, I heard as Birmingham fans going to say I want us to win. I think we could come away with a 2-1. I don't think it'll be a 0. I can see you scoring. But you know,
Barry will love to score against you lot, and I know that. And I remember I was having a pint before a game once, and I'm going back about 4 or 5 years, and Barry's dad turned up. Wiry old Scottish grizzled fella, and he was saying that when you guys were, I think they caught a train around with a load of Brummie fans, and you were just berating this old man on the way up because he decided he was going to tell you who he was. So you know, there's definitely no love lost there with Barry and the Blue Noses. So I feel like we're going to get a different, you know. And I wish you played like that every week, like you were playing Birmingham every week. If I'm honest,
he is. He always turns it on. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I know people that will go to the Birmingham game and they will back him to score a goal because they just know he's going to turn it on.
He loves it.
And it will be exactly the same. It will be exactly the same on Friday. But yeah, like I say, hoping we come away with the results. What's your prediction then? Come on.
I think it's just going to be a tight 1-0. Just a tight 1-0. We might, you know, but I'd love to say 1-0, but I feel like we'll go for it, right? Because we have to. You know, unfortunately, given your league standing and the form you're in, you're a team that we should be looking at to try and take some points off at home, right? But I just don't trust our defence to try and keep you out. So I feel like heart 1-0, head probably 1-0.
Oh, well, we will see Friday evening. It's going to be a good game. As I say, they always are. And I do look forward to these types of games. Wish that we were in a better position on both clubs than, you know, instead of looking at a situation of bottom half of the table, we were both looking at the top half. And let's just hope as things progress that you guys can get on your feet like we have. There's hopes to see some decent owners coming in and taking you guys forward back up there. The Sheffield derby would be nice to have again, although you might get that next season. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I won't. Well, let's see. It depends how our season goes, to be fair, doesn't it?
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Here's to a great game on Friday. And as I always sign off, keep right on from us, guys. And thanks a lot again.